Hey, what's up, everybody? Sam McDowell here with Jesse Newell for the Kansas City Star. Coming to you a little bit quicker after this. The Chiefs beat the Chargers 30-27. Blair's out this week on vacation, so it's going to be Jesse, me running the A team. We might call ourselves the B team, Jesse, without Blair here.
Well,
Go ahead.
we're going to rely on everybody else because I'm expecting comments after this one. I mean, this was one of those games. I remember, Saturday you're watching the TCU Baylor game, and it kind of like makes you jump out of your seat, even if you don't really care about the game. And it sure seems like these Sunday Night Football games. If Chris Collinsworth already loves calling Patrick Mahomes games, but man, every single time these two teams seem to bring out the best in each other. So I'm expecting a lot of comments tonight, a lot of fan reaction to this one because it was an amazing game, fascinating game, and obviously the Chiefs. Huge implications for this one based off of what this win does for them and what it could look like for the future.
Yeah, and I think we'll certainly get to the AFC West part of that. Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes have matched up 5 times now. 2 of those games have gone into overtime. The other 3 have had lead changes in the fourth quarter. So it feels like, for whatever reason, the Chiefs bring out the best of Justin Herbert, which probably isn't the greatest of news, although the defense played much better in the second half. But how do we start anywhere else than Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey? I thought that Patrick Mahomes, and this is, I do the 5 observations. Jesse, you were handling the gamer tonight. But in my observations, what I led with was, I think at the end of the season, when we're talking about Patrick Mahomes becoming an MVP, this is the first game we're going to point toward. Like, the game in your hands, under 2 minutes left to go, you've got to just make something happen. And by the way, this time when he had to make something happen, Juju Smith-Schuster's not on the field. Mecole Hardman's not on the field. Even Kadarius Toney left this game. And you do it throughout the game with Sky Moore, Justin Watson, Jody Fortson. But who do you go to when you really, really need the play? It's Travis Kelsey.
Well, not to mention, I was going back and watching that drive, Sam, when they really needed a play or really needed something to happen. They also got the holding call on Derwin James on Travis Kelsey on that 3rd and 4. Otherwise, you got 4th and 4 coming up there. And it was a good call. It was not one that was getting called all game, but you forced the official to throw something because he was getting held 6-7 yards down the field. He was not allowed to get out in his release. And obviously, if you're Patrick Mahomes, you're going to lock eyes on Travis Kelsey and this sort of thing. So you're going to make sure that you're looking his way. And so Travis Kelsey draws that penalty. But I mean, what else can you say about the guy? 3 touchdowns in this game, continues this crazy pace. I mean, kind of the whisper to me was Travis Kelsey's getting a little bit older before the season. Like at some point, Father Time comes for everyone, and yet Travis Kelsey is having as good of a season this year as he's ever had, and he's doing it at a different speed than he used to, but he's doing it with a higher craftiness level than he ever has, just because he knows how to run routes. He knows how to get open. He knows zones. He reads defenses better probably than most quarterbacks that I've watched while trying to watch some NFL football today and watch some quarterbacks out there. So it's just amazing what those 2 guys have and the chemistry they have. But yeah, that crossing route at the end, 17 yards, I've seen some analysis of it already. The Chargers go man coverage, and that's really the danger you have against man coverage if you don't bracket Kelsey, is that he can kind of run away from you. The Chiefs had a nice concept on the backside where they were running the defense off on that area. So it gives Travis Kelsey a lot of room to run. And he won right off the line of scrimmage. He got open. He made the biggest play for the Chiefs in this one. So, amazing chemistry from those 2 guys. But you're right. This was the drive. And it's why, Sam, so many times I feel like we talk about for the Chiefs, just give the offense a chance. You know what I mean? Like if that fumble would have happened for Jerick McKinnon 3 minutes later, what are we talking about this game? Oh, the fumble might have lost him the game. But the fact that the Chargers scored, but the Chiefs had a minute 40 left. This is the position the Chiefs are in that so few teams in the NFL are, is that down a minute 40, needing a touchdown to score, Chiefs fans feel pretty good, and they should feel pretty good because just like tonight, usually number 15 comes through.
Yeah, I had people in my mentions that were saying that the Chiefs should let the Chargers score. And it was a 3-point game. So you have to at least see if you can hold them to the game time field goal instead. But that also speaks to just the confidence level that I think people have in Patrick Mahomes. But the Kelsey part of this, I mean, Derwin James, he has said is his most difficult matchup as a player. And he beats him on that touchdown. And I couldn't help but backtrack to, Saturday, 4 days ago, and we're talking to Patrick Mahomes. We talk to him every Wednesday. And so he was asked to go through how he goes through his progressions, how he goes through his reads. And I don't think that was the exact nature of the question, but that was the tangent he goes off on. And he interrupts himself, and as he's describing, going through his progressions, he says, well, unless Kelsey has man coverage, then I just throw it to him. And the last 2 touchdowns of this game, what could have been the go-ahead, or what was the go-ahead, what could have been the first game when he touched down early in the fourth quarter, and the actual game when he touched down, both man coverage on Travis Kelsey. And it surprises me a little bit that given who was out for the Chiefs tonight, the Chargers didn't shade even more attention to Travis Kelsey, particularly in that 2-minute drill, because as much as Patrick Mahomes is going to tell us he's got confidence with whomever who's on the field, we all know that's where he wants to go in those key situations. And I just mentioned Patrick Mahomes interrupting himself. I'm going to interrupt myself here and encourage all of our listeners to go ahead and send comments if you have them. Jesse and I are going to try and get to them. Roy, I know you've already got one that says, did Vahe, Blair, and Herbie go to sleep already? Vahe and Herbie are in LA with full coverage. Jesse and I did not make this trip, but definitely check out those guys' coverage. It's coming. Since we did not make the trip, we thought we'd bring this to you guys a little bit earlier than usual. While, like Jesse mentioned, I mean, that's the type of game where you've got so much to say immediately after it ends that we thought we'd hop on immediately after it ended. But I do want to go back to Kelsey, Jesse, for a little bit, because 11 touchdowns this year, like, he's already got a career high at his age. And you brushed on this, but he doesn't have the speed he used to have. Like, he doesn't win because he's faster than everybody else who's guarding him, because a safety's guarding a tight end, and because he's faster. The Chiefs, Eric Bieniemy, I asked him about it earlier this year, what makes him so effective at this age? And he said they're limiting his snap counts this year. And it shows up in the numbers. Like, they don't play. He's not on the field quite as frequently as he used to be earlier on in his career. So let's get into what still makes him so good at 33 years old.
Yeah, so if you want to go into this, Pete Gradoff from The Star talked with Chris Collinsworth earlier this week, the NBC analyst, and I do want to quote him because he obviously, the old saying, has forgotten more about football than I'll ever know. But I had Pete ask Chris about Travis Kelsey and sort of what makes him effective. And he gave just an amazing quote. And I just want to read it because this is quintessential what we're talking about here. He says, Kelsey is a guy that probably reads defenses better than most of the quarterbacks in the league. I was laughing today watching his tape. So many of the big plays he makes on the field, and when he's moving about half speed. He's probably running an 8-flat 40-yard dash at some of the speeds that he runs. But he's like, I don't know, Tom Glavine or somebody back in the baseball days that is chasing the changeup, because if you're moving slower, you can make breaks faster. And if you know what you're doing reading defenses, and he does, there's just spots that they don't cover. And all you've got to do is find those. Where quarterback will go, oh, yeah, right there. I don't have anybody right there. But none of my guys can figure it out. He's 33 years old or whatever it is, but he knows what Patrick's thinking and what Andy's thinking, and half the time they go down. And so, I mean, I think that really speaks to it really well, is just that it's guile. You know what I mean? It's understanding routes. You know, there was a play earlier. He got himself open kind of with a push-off that was very subtle that you know, not most officials don't see, and he got away with it. And that's because he kept his hands low, and he was able to do that. I had a tweet last week where he was running a rub route for Jerick McKinnon, and instead of him getting in the way and getting the offensive pass interference call, he saw where the defender was coming, and he timed it perfectly, so his defender ran into the defender. So there's no offensive pass interference when you run your defender into the other defender. I mean, it's like wise beyond your years. And we mentioned this. I talk about, hey, Travis Kelsey may be slowing his step, which hasn't happened. But here's the reason. I bring this up all the time. He's the same age as Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski retired, came back, twice, and retired again. He's already retired again. And Travis Kelsey is still the best tight end in football. It's not close. I mean, this is amazing what Travis Kelsey is doing. And again, what he did tonight just only adds to that. And a game that the Chiefs had to have him. Now, I want to move on, Sam, to something else, because you talked about how they needed Travis Kelsey. Why don't you give more attention to Travis Kelsey? Well, this was the Sky Moore show for a while. And not only that, him getting open against some of these man coverages, but it's just amazing to me how they sometimes have guys. If you're Patrick Mahomes, why in the world would you look MVS's way after the night that he had all the targets, no catches, and then he comes up with a huge catch to start off that drive in the fourth quarter. So it's amazing how these guys sort of rise to the occasion and that Patrick Mahomes continues to look for them. So while there were some weapons out for the Chiefs, I also thought some of the other weapons stepped up for them. Justin Watson had a pretty good game. Jody Fortson had an amazing game. The tight ends blended in there, but I thought Sky Moore and then MVS on that last possession, that's a huge catch to start off that drive. Otherwise, it probably doesn't end the way it does.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the last 2 drives alone, Marquez Valdes-Scantling has the catch you're talking about for a first down. But the previous drive, also fourth quarter go-ahead touchdown, you had Sky Moore for a first down, Noah Gray for a first down, Justin Watson for a first down on what I mean, third and forever. I can't, third and 17 maybe, third and long, we'll say. But that collection was going to be under the spotlight going into the night, and even more so when Kadarius Toney didn't finish the game, which, you know, a lot of guys didn't finish the game. Juan Thornhill didn't finish the game, and it's not going to help the league's look that playing on turf is okay based on what happened tonight. We saw a lot of guys go out that didn't finish. But to get back to the Sky Moore portion of this, I know it's a cliche thing. We get a lot of questions about Sky Moore, you and me, Jesse, because, you know, he's a second-round pick. I mean, the Chiefs spent a lot of capital on a position that they need not only now, but particularly in the future when you look at what's going to be left of their wide receiver group after this year. But I think you and I are in agreement. Like, Sky Moore runs pretty good routes. He gets open. Like, the advanced metrics show that he does not have an issue getting open, which has led us to believe that the issue is there's so much wiggle room within the Chiefs offense that him and the quarterback just aren't quite on the same page all the time with where that wiggle room should be. We saw one play on it, that third down play that Sky Moore practically catches the football with his neck. Yeah. That was not the design route on that play. The design route wasn't there, and he turned around, and him and Patrick Mahomes were on the same page. And I thought that was a really key play. But, Jesse, I know you've talked to Sky a lot just over the past month or so. What were your impressions of just what he did tonight?
No, absolutely. I mean, he has the ability to win off the line of scrimmage, you know, to beat the man coverage, and maybe more so than any other Chief. He's got that wiggle that you saw. And, again, that play where I think we have one of the commenters, Bradley, talked about him smoking Derwin James. That was the one right across the field, and that's what he can do. I do think this is a matter of exactly what you were saying, which, Sam, is that this is a matter of developing over time and getting that chemistry. What has made Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes so successful is what has taken longer for Sky Moore and Patrick Mahomes to be successful, which is there's the ESP version of this. And I wrote about this in the preseason about the squiggly lines of the playbook. Like, Patrick Mahomes wants you to learn the lines that you're supposed to run on routes, but then he wants you to break those rules. Because if you link up eyes with him or see something different, he's good enough on the fly to read that with you and then adjust to the coverage. But we have seen times this year where Patrick Mahomes will throw it one place, Sky Moore will be in a different place, and then we see kind of Mahomes doing the arm angle, like, hey, I want you to go here, not here. And again, that's just a trust chemistry issue. I think you add to that, it's only natural. I mean, everybody's going to say it doesn't matter, but I think the punt return must matter. You know, like the first experience you have in the NFL is you're trying to do something different and it's not working for you, and you basically lost a game for your team. I think taking that off his plate when Kadarius Toney came in, I think it helped him just to be able to sort of focus in on what he was brought here for. As a second-round pick, he was brought here to be a receiver. Interesting, too, some people, you know, some really good people on the internet, if you follow on Twitter, have sort of tracked the Andy Reid tracker of receivers and how he sometimes does ease guys in their rookie year. And at least earlier this season, before the last few weeks, the person that Sky Moore was tracking closest with as far as snaps per game their rookie year was actually Tyreek Hill. And so, again, that's not the comparison I'm going to make, but it just does go to show you that if anybody was out there saying that Tyreek Hill week 9, week 10 of his rookie year, oh my gosh, I'm not sure what this guy is going to be because he's not contributing right away from the Chiefs, they would have been made to look fools, you know, down the line. So it probably is worth patience here. They need him if other guys are injured, but this was a huge step in the right direction. I agree with you, Sam. I think this is a matter of getting comfortable with the offense, but more than that, getting comfortable with the quarterback. We saw more signs of that today. I want to see the all-22 view because there was one throw late to him in the fourth quarter where it did look like Sky Moore broke off his route a little bit. And like you said, there was that chemistry between those two that you might not have seen before. So, I think we'll see that more as it moves along, and I think that was a big part of the factor of this game just because They needed that contribution from somebody other than Kelsey, and they got it from Sky Moore in this particular game.
I really hope that everyone listening, that their takeaway from this is you compared Sky Moore to Tyreek Hill.
That's the only thing. Put it on the headline, the banner. Make up shirts if you want.
Don't add the context to it. Let's just leave it there that Jesse thinks that Sky Moore is like Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs also, as much as they implemented the new guys, they like, especially Eric Bieniemy when we hear from him on Thursday, like the Chiefs like to preach, just like every other team does. I'm not going to make this a Chiefs only thing, but the next man up mentality. They didn't exactly do that. They switched scheme a little bit too. We saw 13 personnel on the field more often. We saw 12 personnel on the field more often. They integrated the tight ends. I mean, 12 and 13 personnel are putting more tight ends on the field. The best ball Mahomes threw all night was the one to Jody Fortson, and it's one of the best balls he's thrown all season. I really just – I don't know how you defend that. I'm sure that, safety also probably isn't anticipating a tight end to run a wheel route there. That's a little bit of an atypical route for a tight end to run. But it's one of those that was just thrown, like, you can't even drop it. It's just thrown right into his gut and just, like, sinks into him. Noah Gray got involved a little bit, and he's been involved a little bit more these past 3 weeks now. And then obviously Travis Kelsey had the big game. But I thought it was interesting that in just a week's time, Andy Reid was able to scheme up some different things in his 13 personnel too.
Thanks to George for the headline. That's not true. We can make some fake news here at the bottom. No, listen, I want to say this about the tight ends. A couple weeks ago when the Chiefs were struggling, we were kind of whispering around like they need Blake Bell back. They need a blocking tight end. You know what I mean? They're really missing that aspect. And I'm just being completely honest. Like Jody Fortson, if he was just a pass-catching tight end, that's totally fine based off of what the Chiefs have committed to him, what he should be. He's a receiver, turned tight end, that sort of thing. He threw some of the best blocks tonight that the Chiefs had.
They did.
Credit to him and Noah Gray, because when you go to that 13 personnel and you leave the Chargers in their base package, you have to be able to block. You have to be able to do that. And again, a couple weeks ago, I think all of us were kind of looking around going, this team really needs a blocking tight end. Like those guys are trying to do this, but it's not working. Yeah. So credit goes to those guys, because tonight, that one long Kelsey touchdown, the second one that he had, Jody Fortson knocked two guys out on that one. He just hustled the field, got in front of one guy, and then ended up getting in front of another one. That's an effort play. That's a play that when you make it, that gets you on the field more often. And like I said, Noah Gray last week blocked really well in the run game. This week blocked really well. Opened up Kelsey's. Let's keep talking about Kelsey's touchdowns. Kelsey's first touchdown run, he was the one that sealed the edge on that one as well. So really impressed by the Chiefs tight ends. While we're giving special shout outs, I think a special shout out goes to Trey Smith too. I mean, he was mauling some dudes in there, and he was one of those. I remember writing about this a few weeks ago, like, he was playing through an injury. Nobody wants to cop to that. You want to play through it for your teammates, all that stuff. But he didn't look like himself. And these last 2 weeks, he's looked like himself. And that just completely changes what the Chiefs' offensive line looks like, because how many times have we seen a drive for the Chiefs go run, 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 run? And that's what they did and started to take over in that second half. So really impressive blocking by the Chiefs at some positions that were lacking earlier in the season, and that really, I think, changes the complexion of what you think about this team moving forward. They always had Mahomes, but he was kind of working around some things a few weeks ago. Now I think when they have kind of more of the complete package, it's a little bit easier for the Chiefs to move down the field. Yeah,
let's touch on the couple other phases of the game, because we've covered the offense, and rightfully so for the majority of this, but defense and special teams, and probably have different or contrasting takes on those two units. The special teams, there's a lot of heat on Dave Tobe. I realize that the Chiefs special teams unit is combined, and this is all four phases that's thrown into this, but on Football Outsiders, they've been a top 5 special teams 5 of the last 6 seasons. This year's that's not been the case, and I think it's a result. I mean, we mentioned Sky Moore. I mean, Jesse, you mentioned putting him into a new role. They've had to do that with a lot of rookies this year. Brian Cook is a significant factor on special teams. Isaiah Pacheco is a regular on special teams. They've had to integrate a lot of new bodies, because the guys that were here last year and that were the key contributors, when you think of Dorian O'Daniel, Ben Neiman, Armani Watts, those guys are gone. The Chiefs are integrating, but the mistakes that is inexcusable, regardless of your age or experience, are the mental mistakes that special teams unit continues to make. And I'm popping this up because of a question we have on here from Bradley. George, if you want to throw that on the screen. But he's right. The Pacheco play, you've got to stand out of bounds. The rule is if you stand out of bounds and catch it, that's a kick out of bounds. And that's a rule that before you are inserted into a game as a kick returner, you have to know that rule. That's part of that job. You have to know that rule. And if it's one play, I don't think you and I are having this discussion. But it's been a regular thing every week where we're talking about a gaffe by the special teams. And listen, eventually a gaffe by the special teams is going to show up in a game. And I'd argue that it did. I don't think the Chiefs lose in Indianapolis if not for the Sky Moore fumble early in that game. So I know, and I wasn't there when Dave Toub talked last week on Thursday. I've been there for several of his press conferences. But what do you make of the special teams this year? Because I'll just preface it with this. Like I said off the top, I know Dave Toub's under heat for this. Dave Toub is a fantastic special teams coordinator. If he's available tomorrow, there's 20 other teams firing their special teams coordinator to hire Dave Toub. He's a great coach. But he's not had a great season with his group this year.
Yeah, a lot of different thoughts here. So from the studies that are out there from football, we basically know, we always hear a third of the game is special teams. Actually, it's about a ninth of the game is what the numbers tell us. So it can sometimes have an overinflated value. And while we're mentioning special teams, how many people were worried about Harrison Butker coming into this game?
Exactly, yeah.
And he nailed everything. So when we talk about special teams, let's put that into it as well. It's a
little bit of a referee thing. They pop up when they're not playing well. That tends to be what happens with special teams units.
So I was watching the Kansas game Saturday. This exact same thing happened on the sideline. Kick was going toward the sideline. Guy could have, Kenny Logan for the KU could have had a foot out of bounds and touched it. Didn't do it. Touched it. Got tackled immediately at the 8. This sort of thing happens. I think it's more of a thing right now that as we talk about this, it's inexperience. Perhaps you could have had Dave Toub in that 2-minute timeout between kickoff, go up to him and say, hey, look, they're probably going to kick it short. If it's on the sideline, be ready to do this. That's probably a lot of advanced thinking to do that. It's something you should go over in your meetings, but I honestly think that's a rookie that just didn't remember. And I think it's something that Isaiah Pacheco will never forget now. But it does bring up another point that when we talk about the transition that the Chiefs had this offseason, one of the big transitions they had was losing whatever it was, 5 or 6 guys from their core 4 special teams. And that's a lot to turn over in one season. I mentioned this in the Indianapolis game. The special teams lost the Chiefs the Indianapolis game. I expect it to lose them no more games this season. That was such an outlier performance that it's just what it was. But, I'm just with you with Toub. I think he's a good special teams coach. I think that the Chiefs have struggled at times, but I also do want to go back. I'm not sure why Nick Bolton's getting a free pass on this one, guys. The reason that the sky kick is in there that's on the sideline is because Nick Bolton took a grab of Austin Eckler's face mask and didn't let go for about 7 seconds on the goal line to make it obvious for everybody out there to know that he face masked there. So I understand that is one mistake that caused another mistake, but a little bit like shooting the messenger here too. So, obviously the Chiefs hit the field goals when they had to. Harrison Butker deserves all the credit. He's been shaky. He's been shaky in practice. He's been shaky in games lately, but for him to nail all those, including a 50-plus yarder, is good. And I just think over a bigger sample, I don't expect this to bite the Chiefs in the butt. Again, we'll come back to this video, I'm sure, if it does in a playoff game, but I think the special teams are not as good as they usually are, but I think they're better than average. And I looked at PFF, the Chiefs are 7th in special teams on the PFF grades. So not as big of a concern as many other people out there, but it's sort of me like free throws. When teams miss free throws, everyone's like, well, I can make a free throw at home. And this is kind of what we're talking about here. Like, well, I know the rules of the game. I would step out of bounds and touch the ball. So Isaiah Pacheco should know that. I think Isaiah Pacheco will know that from now on. But again, I think it's just a lot of rookies right now, and that was not a situation that he was prepared for mentally. And the Chiefs, it hurt them. It hurt them definitely in this game. Did not lose them the game. And like I said, I don't think special teams will lose them another one, but we'll see.
And Bolton, what you mentioned specifically, had a pretty roller coaster night because, look, I understand that Justin Herbert makes as much as possible out of that late hit as he could have, but there's really no reason to even touch him at all. I mean, you know the rule. Even if it's a light hit, it still is a hit. Like I think we all would have been surprised if that was not a flag. He also comes up with the game sealing interception. And look, there's no better tackler on the team, and that was illustrated tonight than Nick Bolton. But to go back to the thing you mentioned about percentage of the game, 1 out of 9. Okay, so it's like 11% of the game. The two biggest plays of this game, and Jesse, you and I both look at this a lot in terms of win probability and how a play impacts a game. These are pretty small numbers to be the biggest play of a game. So the biggest plays tonight, and I always use Ben Baldwin's metric. He does a fantastic job. You can follow him on Twitter. But both of them were less than 5%. Was the biggest. There was no play today that had a bigger than 5% impact on the win probability. But both of them actually went against the Chiefs, the two biggest plays of the game. And I wanted to really zero in on one of them. So one of them I'm sure won't surprise people is the Jerick McKinnon fumble, obviously a huge play. The second one's the one I wanted to zero in on, which is the Justin Herbert pass deep to Keenan Allen. Had about a 4.2% win probability change after that play.
And can I correct you real quick? It's expected points added is what you're reading.
Yeah.
Win probability, there were bigger swings than that, and you can get that a little bit further down. But this is basically this play gave the Chargers 4 points, or expected to give them 4 points.
Yeah, I should say the win probability. You're right, Jesse. The win probability on this play is, I think, 13.
There you go.
So, it's really, it was like, if you're writing about the defense tonight, I think it'd be a little bit difficult because they were really bad in the first half and made some really good adjustments at halftime. And the defense was terrific for the first 3 drives of the second half. I mean, the Chargers went punt, turnover. And they had run 16 plays on those initial 3 drives of the second half and only gained 63 yards. And this, I think, started with the end of the first half, where they held the Chargers to a field goal, knowing the Chargers already have the lead and they're playing make it, take it by getting the ball at the start of the second half. That sequence from the defense, I thought, was really key in the game. So you'd like to credit the defense for what they did in the second half because they only allowed 1 touchdown. But it came as a result of this 3rd and 17 play, which somebody screwed up here. And I'm not sure if it's a play call screw up or if it's an execution screw up. And the latter is possible because Juan Thornhill's out of the game. And so you've got Brian Cook, a rookie, on the field. But the Chiefs have elected to go with a heavy dose of rookies in their secondary this year. But however the screw up happens, the result of it is you've got Joshua Williams one-on-one with a veteran receiver on a 3rd and 17 play. And it's reminiscent to me of, and Jesse, I know you were on the beat last year, but Jamar Chase got one-on-one with Charvarius Ward last year on also a 3rd and really long play. And you're sort of wondering why you have one-on-one coverage with a veteran receiver on the outside. If you look at it, Brian Cook is a single high safety. And this is one that I know we're going to want to see the Skyward All-22 view on this. It looked like he was shaded a little bit toward over the middle where the Chiefs already had 2 defenders, and he potentially could have been help for Joshua Williams on the outside. But that's a play that could have cost the Chiefs the game tonight if they don't have 15 standing on the opposite sideline. And I just thought it was an inexcusable, like I said, it's either play call or missed execution play that they had on that 3rd and 17 coverage.
Yeah, I need a rewatch, Sam, because watching Joshua Williams drop on that, he did not look like he was in a man drop. I mean, he was
did.
back. So, I mean, maybe it was something different because kind of what I saw on that play was he kind of just got bullied out of the way. And listen, that's sort of what's going to happen when you have rookies sometimes. I mean, this is the step the Chiefs took this offseason. Like, when you get younger, you get faster, you get these dudes who are going to make up for issues. They're going to be inexperienced, but they're going to be flying, making tackles. And that's what we've seen from these young corners. I mean, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, they will come upfield. They will make a tackle. They will be aggressive. They will be physical, but they'll also make mistakes. And I mean, that seemed like a time where he got outguiled by a dude who is really, really good in Keenan Allen. So I'm with you. I hate to sound like a coach here and say, hey, I need to see the tape to see exactly what happened there. But it looked to me like the Chiefs were giving every opportunity for Joshua Williams to know that pass was coming, to go back, to have eyes on the pass. It looked like he was in great position, and then he just got out bullied to the ball by a really good receiver. So that to me, again, we'll have to see. And I'll get Brett Tavo on the case, the guy I do the breakdown video with every single week to actually get the accurate call if we needed to make sure we get double eyes on it. But that to me seemed like a case of a rookie sort of going through a little bit of a lesson right there. And that's what the Chiefs are going to live with. I mean, if we're being honest, Sam, about this defense, it's won them a couple games this year, which is good. Like last year, it won them a couple games, which was good enough, not good enough to get in the Super Bowl, good enough to kind of keep them afloat through that bad part of the schedule midway through when the offense is really struggling. I think the defense has won them a couple games this year, but if you look, you talked about Ben Baldwin's stats earlier on like a drive-by-drive basis or a possession-by-possession basis. Like how often do they give up a first down for every new set of downs? They're toward the bottom of the league. I mean, and their turnovers, they haven't forced many until tonight when they, got a couple of them too. So, this is still a defensive work in progress, I think. And I would probably say it's about average, but average for this defense with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey and the weapons they have and Andy Reid is going to be good enough most nights. And most nights, it's probably going to be good enough for them to be among the best in football. It absolutely is from watching the games I watched today here on an empty NFL Sunday. So, we'll see what happens with the defense. But like I said, we'll rewatch that film and see what happens. But I think part of that's just sort of what you're going to get with rookie corners. And as they grow through that, you'll get better. And as they get better, you're going to still have that youth, that speed, that physicality. And then you're going to have it with guys who understand more what's happening to them. So,
there's reason to believe that the defense is going to improve because they are so young. Joshua Williams has made big strides this year for a guy. Yeah. This time last year is facing Division II competition. I think McDuffie looks like he's going to be a player, and I mean he's 4 games into his NFL career. So there's reason to believe the defense is going to improve, which sort of prompts the last point before we get out of here. The Chiefs took a gigantic step towards winning the AFC West. They don't clinch the AFC West tonight, but
not officially, but yeah, they did.
It'd be a big shocker if they lost the AFC West at this point. In a year, we're in week 11 talking about the Chiefs all but wrapping up a division that was the focus of the entire NFL's offseason. Because every other team in this division, I mean, Devontae Adams was, Tyreek Hill was the biggest move of the offseason, was Tyreek Hill's trade to Kansas City. Okay, so that's your perennial division champion losing a player. The next biggest move you could argue is Devontae, I'll take Deshaun Watson out of this conversation, but Devontae Adams going to Vegas. You've got Russell Wilson going to Denver. Like the AFC West is littered with the top headlines of the NFL offseason. All those headlines had some symmetry to them, which was the gap is closing between the Chiefs and these other teams. And I think people that have listened to these shows long enough know that I was really skeptical on Denver this year, pretty skeptical on the Raiders. I was one of the zillion people, as many jokes as there were made about don't buy into the Chargers. I still thought the Chargers were going to be really good competition for the Chiefs this year because of that quarterback they have. I think Justin Herbert could use some help. But here we are in week 11 talking about this division being wrapped up already.
Greater than 99% on 538. And you've got 7 weeks left in the season. I mean, that's – what's the quote? You come at the king, you best not miss.
Yeah.
I mean, those 3 teams came with a big haymaker and then just left themselves open. And, boy, the Chiefs just shot an uppercut right to the chin. I mean, it's over. The Chiefs haven't even played Denver yet, and it's over. I mean, it's over. So now the Chiefs are chasing that 1 seed, and it's all important this year because if you talk about fully healthy, I think the Bills are better than the Chiefs. I think that's what they designed their offseason to make happen. Now, with Josh Allen and his elbow and all that goes on with that, I don't know if that's still at the same level, but what I do know is if the Chiefs get not only that first round bye, which means you don't have to go through an 80% game to get to the next round of the playoffs, you skip that thing, and you also don't have the injuries that come with that, but you also get probably a 3-ish point swing by playing at your home field instead of going up to Buffalo. I mean, heck, we saw the first half of this game from LA. I mean, it was all Chiefs fans in the building, but it sure looked like LA got a pretty nice whistle there in the first half. It happens. That's what happens when you have home games. That's really important for the Chiefs. So now you just turn your attention almost away from the AFC West. I mean, their schedule lightens up here. if they can get that 1 seed, their shot to win the Super Bowl jumps up. Their shot to win the AFC jumps up. Their shot to host a 5th straight AFC Championship game at Arrowhead jumps up. And so, this is huge. The last 3 weeks for the Chiefs, including that crazy miracle finish from Minnesota, it's been a huge swing in the Chiefs' overall Super Bowl type odds, going from whatever you want to say, 9 or 10% to somewhere around 20 or 25 right now. And some of that's out of their control, but some of that's in their control. And getting this 4th quarter win and beating the Chargers and moving on and continuing to add to that record, and now have, you hate to say, a breather against the reigning Super Bowl champions, but that's kind of what they get here at home against the Rams, who are really struggling. If they just kind of keep on this same trajectory here, the Chiefs have a great shot of really solidifying that number 1 seed. And frankly, a month ago, Sam, I didn't think that was really possible for them.
It's a conversation that we can get deeper into another day. But you look at the Chiefs and Rams, and the way the Chiefs won the Super Bowl versus the way the Rams won the Super Bowl. The Chiefs didn't make any. I mean, Frank Clark, I guess, is a little bit of an exception, but they did not sacrifice their future by the way they approached to try and win their Super Bowl. The Rams did, and it's why they're playing a running back at quarterback today, dropping to 3-7, and it's not the game we thought it was on the schedule, which is pretty indicative, actually, of the back end of the Chiefs' schedule, which was rated as not only the hardest in the NFL going into the year, but one of the hardest in NFL history. There's games on that schedule that don't look nearly as formidable now as they did when they opened the season. The Rams are one of them. You got the Broncos twice that I think some people thought they could win a lot more games than they have. You still got the Raiders, same story with them. And all of a sudden, it is setting up for the Chiefs to finish pretty nicely at the end. So,
can we talk about?
Give me a final thought here before we wrap up.
Yeah, you've been all over this, Sam. But I mean, how crazy is it for the Chiefs fans to look at this? Like, we just talked about all these rookies that are in the lineup. We just talked about them having the best quarterback, probably the NFL MVP. And in this offseason, they traded away one of their best players to get more draft picks. And oh, by the way, this next year they have another rash of draft picks coming in. Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs they did not push their chips in the middle like Denver, like the Raiders, like the Chargers, like the Bills. They are set up to win for the next 8 years. And oh, by the way, they might be the best team in the NFL right now. I mean, that's you almost got to kick your feet back up in a second if you're a Chiefs fan right now and go, wow, this is pretty amazing what Coach Andy Reid, what Patrick Mahomes, what the front office has done. Because again, it might not end up roses for the Chiefs this year, but even if it doesn't, man, the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, it sure looks like the Chiefs are going to be competitive in this and give themselves a chance to take this whole thing down.
Yeah, I mean the Broncos and Raiders are playing for the present, and their present is 3 wins,
3-7,
playing for the present and the future, and we're talking about them wrapping up the AFC West. So let's leave it there, and thank you everybody who tuned in. We will be back probably this week. We'll get to you on the Thanksgiving holiday schedule. But certainly we'll be back to you after the game on Sunday back home against the Rams. Thanks, everybody.